The wind song goes.
Permanently different and permanently dangerous. And even if overt racist language can't be used anymore, we have the language of.
Nah, 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 nah. This door in my home ain't never gonna let me grow. She won't close now. Honestly, she's slowing me down. And it seems this river go ain't never gonna let me flow. These aimless rides on a boat have brought my tries to a halt. So can we keep it going, cause I miss the moments when the mornings dawned on me and I could see it. So where do we go now? We've seen everything we had to see. We figured it out, my love. So where are we going? So where do we go now? We did everything so endlessly and only to feel undone. So where are we going? Suddenly gravity's just like me, pulling me down every chance it gets, holding me bound to the way I is. Oh, and there's no need, it ain't no good for me. Why would I wanna talk about the I did? A penny for your thoughts is really all it is. So can we keep it going, cause I miss the moments when the mornings dawned on me and I could see. So where do we go now? We've seen everything we had to see. We figured it out, my love. So where are we going? So where do we go now? We did everything so endlessly and only to feel undone. So where are we going?
it. So keep that same energy, I'm cool with it. Don't call, I got new digits. When you needed me, I was in soup kitchen. I saved your number under the stoop pigeon. This is the remix to ignition. Start it up, get it in, seat up, rev it up, tell a friend. We can make love in the back of the band, so we can make out, we can walk and hold hands. I could be your man, dream boyfriend, Barbie and Ken, or Barbie and Jane, Ken and Justin. This is Dustin, homies hustling. Yellow Mustang, I flew through customs. There's no discussion, I'm Laker Guslin. With the concussion, and my boy's husband. He gets the cut in till I malfunction. Till I malfunction, 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 till I malfunction.
Who's red Rari's parked outside? All that money with nowhere to hide. One too many drinks and nobody wanna drive. Nobody's going home, staying all night. Who's red Rari's parked on the side? Young and we're free, it's the time of our lives. But what we gotta do, hustle to stay alive. Put both hands up and your head to the sky.
The biggest hits and throwbacks.
Play here. This is Truckers FM.
Shouts to all my lost boys. Shouts to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shouts to all my lost boys. Shouts to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shouts to all my lost boys. Shouts to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shouts to all my lost boys. Shouts to all my lost boys. When you're ready, bass. When you're ready. You're ready. Shouts to all my lost boys. We rowdy. Shouts to all my lost boys. 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 We rowdy. Shouts to all my lost boys. Shouts. When you're ready. Still ain't got my marbles, but I got these beats banging out the back of my toy car. Hey yo, I'm eating Fun Dip right now. Not giving a
I feel like all these people in this room don't shine like you. If I could bottle you up, I would sip you like cosmic juice. So give me that good love, good love all night. Don't need your cash, I got my own to spend it on you if I like. If you wanna dance, baby, let's dance. We can dream until I can't help it, I get starstruck around you. What can I do, baby? I can't help it, I get starstruck around you. What can I do? There ain't no reason why I can't speak, think, or stop staring at your glow. I wanna tell you everything that's on my mind, baby, even if I choke. Ooh, yeah. So give me that good love all night. Don't need your cash, I got my own to spend it on you if I like. If you wanna dance, baby, let's dance. We can dream until I can't help it, I get starstruck around you. What can I do, baby? I can't help it, I get starstruck around you. What can I do when I get my hands on you? I can't help it, I get starstruck around you. What can I do, baby? Starstruck, not giving you up. Starstruck, not giving you
Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived in what you believe? 'Cause I'm only human after all, and you're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Some people got the real problems. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve them. Lord heavens above, my opinion, don't ask me to lie. And beg for forgiveness for making you cry. Making you cry. 'Cause I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. Oh, some people got the real problem. Some people out of love. Some people think I can solve them. Lord heavens above. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. I'm only human. I made mistakes. I'm only human. It's all it takes to put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. 'Cause I'm no prophet or Messiah. You should go looking somewhere high. I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put the blame on me. I'm only human. I do what I can. I'm just a man. I do what I can. Don't put the blame on me. Don't put your blame on me.
Your drive.
Your music.
This is Truckers FM.
Own it, girl, you just own it. 'Cause your body's on fire. Show me how to control it. And go ahead, then get higher. Girl, I love how you roll it. I put my hand there. Hold it, I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you.
Lighters up, one time lighters up. Pulled up in the party when you saw me, I was lighting up my J. So go ahead and brighten up my day. Lighters in the air when you're lighting up the rave. And it's feeling like I met you here before. Girl, I felt your presence when they let you through the door. Never had a brother give you everything and more. So I take a little piece and then the rest of it is yours, me and more.
You don't dare when I don't they tell you, but can you taste and I play? I don't know where till you take to me, we just they scatter my brain.
Love it when I put you in your place. I can tell you love it just by looking in your face. It's the way that you wind up your waist. I'm so in awe, girl, you never have to worry about nothing. You know it's yours, you know you own it.
Girl, you just own it. 'Cause your body's on fire. Show me how to control it. And go ahead, if you get higher. Girl, I love how you hold it. I put my hand there. Hold it, I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you.
Lights down for the one I love right now. You never look better. Forget our friends, girl. I love it when we chill together. Ain't nobody gonna feel what we feel together. She wanna kiss, I want another one. You got a sick vibe, I want it one-on-one. Up to now, nobody knew where I was coming from, but we got the same mind, so I don't wanna waste time. Bring it to me, my mind, that's what I need. That's right, kissing your cheek one time. I used to love being alone, but now I can't stand it. Reaching out my palm for you to put your hand in, girl, you are the one, and I don't understand it. How you lighting up the room with your glow? 'Cause girl, you just own it.
Girl, you just own it. 'Cause your body's on fire. Show me how to control it. Go ahead, if you get higher. Girl, I love how you roll it. I put my hand there. Hold it, I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you. I'ma be right by you.
Stones, you can join me every Thursday from 6 p.m. for the 80s tunes, bringing you the best of the 1980s.
80s tunes with Stones on TFN.
I'll be keeping you entertained with games such as Stones' Thursday Trivia and 8 of the 80s. So don't forget to tune in every Thursday from 6 p.m. for the 80s tunes.
80s tunes with Stones on TFN.
Show me a piece of your heart, a piece of your love. I'm calling you up to getting down, down, down. The way that we touch is never enough. I'm turning you up to getting down, down. Show me a piece of your heart, a piece of your love. I'm calling you up to getting down, down, down. The way that we touch is never enough. Turning you up to getting down, down, down.
What? Sorry, just quickly. What if it's
da 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 down, down, down. Da 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 da. better. Show me what you want. Show me easy. Show me honey. I'll be what you want. And it's physical. Keep it better. Show me what you want. Show me a piece of your heart. A piece of your heart. Calling you up to getting down, down, down. The way that we touch is never enough. I'm turning you up to getting down, down, down. Da da da, da da da, da da da, down, 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 da da da, da da da, da da da, da da da, down, 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 down. Show me easy, show me honey. I'll be what you want, and it's physical. Keep it subliminal. Show me what you want.
Bringing the feel good.
Bringing the feel good.
Truckers FM.
I let you down, I let you on. I never thought I'd be here without you. Don't let me drown inside your arms. Bad thoughts inside my mind. When the darkness comes, you're my light, baby. My light, baby. My light when it's dark. I'm too high, baby. Too high, baby. 'Cause I know right now that I lost it. It's way too late to save our souls, baby. Oh, it's way too late. Baby, on my own, I made mistakes. I did you wrong, baby. It's way too late to save my life. I can't trust where I live anymore. Sources say that we're done. How would they know? We're in hell, it's disguised as a paradise with flashing lights. I just wanna believe there's so much.
This programming is sponsored by Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center, providing voluntarily donated blood and components to over 170 hospitals and healthcare institutions. Video resources and details on hosting a blood drive are at giveblood.org/hostablooddrive.
Say the plotters plan to violently establish a new order nationwide. BBC News. Human rights groups say they have serious concerns about a trial due today in Greece involving 9 Egyptian men accused of causing the biggest migrant shipwreck in the Mediterranean Sea for a decade. More than 600 people drowned last June when an overcrowded fishing boat sank on its way from Libya. 6 survivors say the Greek Coast Guard caused the boat to capsize, allegations it's repeatedly denied. Donald Trump's former lawyer and fixer Michael Cohen has completed his final day of testimony at the ex-president's criminal trial in New York. Mr. Cohen admitted to stealing $30,000 from Mr. Trump's company, which he justified as self-help. Mr. Trump denies falsifying accounts to hide money paid to a porn star. American actress Scarlett Johansson has taken legal advice against the artificial intelligence company OpenAI after it released an artificial voice similar to hers in the ChatGPT 4.0 system without her consent. She said she was shocked and angered. She said the company's CEO had offered to hire her last September as the program's voice, but she had declined. Mexico's Environment Agency is investigating a spate of deaths among wild howler monkeys that's been linked to a heat wave in the southern state of Tabasco and Chiapas. Here's James Reed.
With their raucous, booming call, Howler monkeys are among the most distinctive denizens of the forests of southern Mexico. But local conservationists say they've been dropping dead from the trees, apparently as a result of heat exhaustion and dehydration. Volunteers have been giving water and fruit to monkeys found in distress. The National Environment Agency said it would carry out tests to rule out a viral infection or pesticide contamination.
BBC World News.
Thank you for that news and welcome to Newsday with Rob Young and Sana Safi. Coming up this half hour, you will hear stories from Iran, Gaza and New Caledonia. George Addo will be here with your sports news and Suranjana Tiwari with all the business headlines.
Well, let's start in Iran, where 5 days of mourning have been declared after confirmation that the president, Ibrahim Raisi, was killed in a helicopter crash on Sunday. Its wreckage was located in mountainous terrain. The foreign minister, Hussein Amir Abdullahian, was also killed. Funeral ceremonies will start today in the city of Tabriz in the northwest, close to the crash site. Crowds have also gathered in the capital Tehran to mourn the president. Condolence from allies of Iran, including Russia and the Hamas and Hezbollah movements, which are backed by Iran. There have also been sympathies from France, the European Union, and Iran's traditional regional rival, Saudi Arabia. In a media briefing, the American Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin would not be drawn on the possible reasons behind the crash.
We continue to monitor the situation, but we don't have any insights into the cause of the accident at this point. And certainly I know the Iranians are investigating or will investigate, and so we'll see what the outcome is once their investigation is complete. I can't speculate on what may have been the cause of the accident, Tara, but again, I think we'll learn more once the Iranians have investigated.
The exiled Iranian opposition group, the People's Mujahideen of Iran, said the death of the hardline president was a blow to the regime that it said is notorious for its executions and massacres. A deputy to President Raisi, Mohammad Mokbar, has been named acting president, while the new foreign minister is the veteran nuclear negotiator Ali Bagheri. Elections to choose a new president will be on June the 28th.
Many people inside Iran and outside the country have taken to social media to share their reactions. Joining us now from our BBC monitoring service is Gonche Habibzad. Gonche, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us about the reaction inside. From what I can see on BBC Persian and other Persian websites, it has been really mixed, hasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely has been mixed, and there are two sides to it. One side is a pro-establishment users on X, especially, that they're mourning the death of Raisi, and on the other side are jubilant anti-establishment users that are dancing and are celebrating it. Iranian police was very quick in the early hours after the crash to say that we will crack down on anyone who is celebrating, who is publishing rumors about President Raisi. And what we saw in the early hours from pro-establishment users, from the news that was coming out, they were hoping for the president and all of the passengers' health, because the early news was in a way that it was conveying that they could be alive.
And we have also been seeing a lot of fake news circulating on social media. One of colleagues, actually, from one of the Persian services, but not the BBC, but outside, she was saying, I can't deal with the memes. Can we just stop sharing these things? What can you tell us more about how fake news has become a problem?
Yeah, of course. So in the early hours, everyone was speculating different reasons for the crash, and what Iranian media said was hard landing, and the crash was due to foggy weather. And what we also saw on from monitoring the weather there was saying that it was like terrible weather there. But then the rumor started. Some said that Israel was behind the crash, while we saw also that Israel officials, without naming themselves, were really quick to say that they were not behind the attack. And we saw memes being shared on social media by
coverage will we be seeing outside and people in Iran will be seeing on their television screens and on the radios and other social media platforms, as well as websites, most of which are tightly controlled?
Yeah, of course. So although there's 5 days of mourning, the only day that is public holiday is on Wednesday. And today there are going to be 2 funeral ceremonies, one in Tabriz, one in Qom, the holy city of Qom, as it's planned. And we're going to be seeing live coverage on TV, of course, but we'll be monitoring the situation very closely because when the commander of IRGC, Iran Revolution Corps, died in 2020, Qasem Soleimani, at least 50 people died in his funeral. So we'll be also monitoring very closely because we know that many will be coming for his funeral, and millions also will be watching the live television from inside and outside of Iran.
And one of the things that people were sharing as part of their reactions was how this translates to the strength of the Iranian regime. And some were saying, this is eroding what was there, or at least in the public persona, because Ibrahim Raisi was such a hardline cleric. And others are saying, well, actually, no, this is not going to make any difference. What have you come across?
From what we have gathered and what we have collected and monitoring, so he was the second person in Islamic Republic in the hierarchy of power, but at the same time, the supreme leader is the head of the state. He's the person who's making all decisions, and he was also really quick to say right after in his first message after the death was announced that the Islamic Revolution will move on as it has before, and it won't make any difference to the way that we were moving on. So I think in relation to Iran, it doesn't make any actual difference.
Ronche Habibzad, thank you very much for joining us.
Let's head to discuss the conflict in Gaza now. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has angrily condemned the International Criminal Court prosecutor for seeking arrest warrants for him and his defense minister, alongside the leaders of Hamas, over alleged war crimes in the Gaza conflict. Mr. Netanyahu said he rejected with disgust that democratic Israel had been compared with what he called mass murderers. And the American President Joe Biden has said there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Well, the chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan, said there were reasonable grounds to believe that Mr. Netanyahu and the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant bore criminal responsibility for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity in Gaza. We're joined now by Ahmed Faoud Al-Khatib, who's a non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council Middle East Initiative. He's also lost 31 members of his family in Gaza since the conflict began in October. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Before we discuss the actions of the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, just first of all, tell us briefly about some of your family members who have been killed in Gaza and the circumstances in which they died.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it. There were 3 separate strikes on October 13th, October 25th, and December 14th. 2 in Gaza City, where I grew up and where my immediate and extended family lived, and 1 in Rafah in the south, when it was still a designated safe zone, when there were no large-scale combat operations there. And that targeted my second home, the house of my mother's family, where I also grew up. And that's how I lost dozens of family members. Those strikes took place without any warning. There were children as young as 3 and 4 months old that were killed in this bombardment, shredded to pieces. All of my surviving folks came out with burns or some kind of moderate and severe injuries. The strikes took place in a targeted manner. I have long suspected the use of the purported AI tools in honing in on my family's home, because I've kept track of my folks throughout my presence in the United States. There are no Hamas members in my family. There were no militant activities. The homes that were targeted were not being used for any documented rocket launches. And I've been really distressed that, dozens of people, just like thousands in the Gaza Strip, have lost their lives. And there's no accountability. I will have to live with this for the rest of my life, not knowing why a bunch of civilians were killed and lost their lives.
Israel says it doesn't target civilians, so why do you say they were targeted attacks?
Well, because of the precise use of these munitions. I mean, I understand that Israel has a targeting chain mechanism in which information is fed in and targets are selected. However, we've seen, based on my analysis and my assessment, there was political pressure to increase the bank of targets, the target bank. And there was the loosening of rules of engagement. There was the loosening of attributes that would cause a house or an area to be targeted by Israeli airstrikes or artillery bombardment. And so that's what's particularly distressing is, yes, on the one hand, I understand that Israel has a sophisticated targeting mechanism. On the other hand, we've seen time and again in this war the systematic destruction of hospitals and schools and universities and shelters and economic sites. And yes, I understand Hamas is a ruthless organization. I consider Hamas a vile terrorist organization that has little regard for its people. However, I think it has been clear to so many of us that this is beyond simply a war on Hamas. This is a war now that has evolved to make the coastal enclave uninhabitable, unlivable, making it difficult for its people to ever reestablish their lives. I think there was some decision makers within Israel early on, and they made it clear, they said it in public, we're counting on the displacement, the forced displacement of civilians into the Sinai. And when that failed, they proceeded nevertheless with a war strategy that's ferocious and that has resulted in so many lives lost.
Which is some of the case that is being put forward by the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Karim Khan. What, for you personally, does this move by the International Criminal Court mean?
I mean, multiple things are true. The pragmatist and the rational in me understands that nothing immediate is going to happen. And neither the United States nor Israel are parties to the Rome Statute agreement that established the ICC. And I understand that this will not immediately stop the war in Gaza. On the other hand, I am absolutely happy and thrilled that this is happening, especially also that the ICC is going after Hamas's leadership for multiple reasons. Number one is the people of Gaza have no recourse. They have no way of addressing some of the actions that have been carried out against them, both by Israel but also by Hamas. I mean, it's not lost on me that thousands, tens of thousands of Palestinians would still be alive, including my family members, had Hamas simply kept its fighters at home on October 7th and not launched a horrendous and a criminal, vile terror act against innocent Israeli civilians, killing over 1,200 people. It's not lost on me that that triggered this horrendous mess that we're in, and there needs to be accountability on the Hamas side. On the other hand, to say that the massive actions by the Israeli military, the statements, the overt, clear anti-Palestinian sentiments that are harbored by senior Israeli officials, and how that in turn influenced the war strategy and the way this war is conducted, I mean, that would be naive to deny that. And as such, the people of Gaza deserve some method for accountability. And I think this could be a step in the right direction.
For joining us very much indeed. Ahmed Fouad Al-Khatib there from the Atlantic Council Middle East Initiative. Israel has denounced the ICC's prosecutors' attempt to seek warrants for Netanyahu and the Defence Minister. This is Newsday on the BBC World Service.
Now to sport. George Addo is here. Hi, George.
Hello. Let's begin with football. Arne Slot says the opportunity to work at one of the biggest clubs in the world was difficult to ignore as he was confirmed as Liverpool's new head coach. The Reds agreed a compensation deal worth $11.4 million with Feyenoord in April after the 45-year-old was identified as the man to succeed Jurgen Klopp at Anfield. And Premier League champions Manchester City are to mark their 4-in-a-row achievement in a victory parade on Sunday. They'll begin the parade at 7:30 at the National Museum, finishing 90 minutes later on Dean's Gate. In tennis, Andy Murray was on the brink of a first-round defeat by Yannick Hanfmann at the Geneva Open before play was suspended because of bizarre weather conditions. Murray resumed later on Tuesday, trailing the German Yannick 7-5, 4-1. And in golf, Scottie Scheffler's court date has been delayed until the 3rd of June following his arrest during the US PGA Championship at Valhalla last week. The 27-year-old was arrested after trying to drive into the golf club in heavy traffic. And that's your sport for now.
George, thank you. Now, some of the world's most famous car makers are being accused of using Chinese forced labor. Our business presenter, Suranjana Tiwari, has the details from Singapore. Suranjana, this is part of a US congressional report. What did the committee find?
Yeah, this comes from the Senate Finance Committee, and it found that BMW, Jaguar Land Rover and Volkswagen used parts made by a supplier on a list of firms banned by the US over alleged links to Chinese forced labor. Now, back in 2021, Congress passed the Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act, and that was intended to prevent the import of goods from China's northwestern Xinjiang region. And it's believed that there are people from the Uyghur minority group who are in forced labor conditions. The report says at least 8,000 BMW Mini Cooper cars were imported into the US with components from a banned Chinese firm. That Jaguar Land Rover, which is owned by India's Tata Group, had also imported spare parts which included components from that company, and Volkswagen is also accused of the same.
Has there been any reaction from the car companies or China?
Well, the three car makers did not immediately respond to requests for comment from the BBC, but the BMW Group said in an email to Reuters that it had taken steps to halt the importation of affected products. Jaguar Land Rover also telling Reuters that as soon as it learned of the issue, it immediately stopped all shipments of the two affected aftermarket service parts. And back in February, Volkswagen said that thousands of its vehicles, including Porsches and Bentleys, had been held up by US authorities because they had these components in them that breached American laws. Volkswagen had voluntarily, apparently, informed customs officials. As for China, authorities have denied all allegations of human rights abuses in Xinjiang in the past.
Suranjana, thank you very much, Suranjana Tiwari there.
Well, let's head to the South Pacific now, to the French territory of New Caledonia, which has been racked by violence. The situation does seem to be calming down gradually, and a big clean-up operation has begun. Since protests began last Tuesday, 6 people, including 2 police officers, have died. At least 60 members of security forces were injured, and more than 200 people were arrested over clashes with police, arson and looting. The archipelago has long been a focal point of indigenous aspirations for independence from France. Well, on the line now is journalist Andre Kaisi from the pro-independent radio station Radio Jido. Welcome to Newsday. What is happening at the moment? What is the situation like?
Good morning, Britain. Good morning, Europe. Here in New Caledonia right now, I'm coming back. It is 2 o'clock in the evening. I'm coming back from the town, from the city, and what is happening exactly is the French army try to reestablish order, but every time they go and push out all the what the young generation put on the road, the young come back and put again in on the road. So what we can say, the French army try to reestablish order, but the young generation, they continue to resist and ask Paris to stop the process of electoral. They ask that Paris come to the table of negotiation, discussing with Caledonian local government and try to find out a solution decided by local government and Paris, but not a unilateral decision coming from Paris. That is the main problem we meet now. our people asked Paris to respect what has been signed on 1988 and 1998 by Jean-Marie Tjibaou and Jacques Lafleur. During 30 years, we live in New Caledonia in harmony and in peace, and we don't understand why Emmanuel Macron doesn't respect this spirit, the Pacific spirit.
Just so everyone listening to our conversation is clear, the issue here is a decision in Paris to allow more French residents to vote in local elections, which many people are concerned will dilute the political influence of native people in New Caledonia. Why does that, though, justify some of the action that we have seen?
We are in front of, we have. If we have to touch the real problem is that concerning our economy, concerning politics, we already try to find out something like the discussion. But what is difficult for us now is, and that's why young generation try to destroy all the economic system, is that the way of sharing the wealth of our economy, it is the same. The richer become richer and the poor become poor. And that's why, in political way, we try to find out solution. And as you say, we can find out there is no reason to do like this. But between political leaders, it's okay. But for the young generation, for them, the economical model cannot be, we cannot continue like this. That's
part of the problem,
it is
though, is the
difficult.
The unrest, though, now is leading to Australia and New Zealand to send rescue flights to New Caledonia to evacuate travellers who are stranded there. This is not doing much for the economy of New Caledonia, is it? If very important visitors who bring much needed money with them are deciding to leave and probably stay away for some time.
The road between the airport, the international airport, and Nouméa is about 60 kilometers. The army try to clean the road so planes, international planes, can come to New Caledonia. But until now, there is no international flight. Only French army aircraft can arrive in Totuta, the airport of New Caledonia. So we're very sorry for the tourists and tourism, but we cannot say to the young generation to stop.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. Andre Kaisi there from Pro-Independence Radio GDO. The French government has flown in 1,000 extra police to boost security there. This is Newsday on the BBC.
Distribution of the BBC World Service in the United States is made possible by American Public Media, producer and distributor of award-winning public radio content, engaging audiences, creating meaningful experiences, and fostering conversations. APM, American Public Media. With support from Ascensus, who helps people dream bigger, aim higher, and save more for retirement. See how Ascensus helps them get there at ascensus.com.
This is News 88.7.
Today is New Member Monday. Embark on an exciting journey by becoming a new member of Houston Public Media. Kickstart your week with a commitment to supporting reliable news, educational documentaries, and captivating arts. Select a contribution level that suits you, and in return, enjoy exclusive access to our streaming service on the PBS app. Your donation at HoustonPublicMedia.org not only grants you these benefits, but also contributes to our mission of informing, educating, and inspiring Houston. Become a new member today.
Hello, this is Newsday from the BBC World Service with Sada Safi and Rob Young.
Iran pays tributes to President Ibrahim Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash. Elections will be held next month.
We'll also look at how prepared East Africa is to deal with heavy rains.
And the biggest supposed gold discovery in history and the mysterious man behind its downfall. But first, the news.
pro-Israeli leaders and rejecting claims of genocide in Gaza. The prosecutor is also seeking warrants for 3 Hamas leaders. Mr. Biden said there could be no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Australia and New Zealand are sending planes to New Caledonia to evacuate citizens stranded by violent unrest in the French Pacific Island territory. There's been a week of rioting sparked by electoral changes. Funeral ceremonies for the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi will start today in the city of Tabriz, near where he died in a helicopter crash. Human rights groups say they have serious concerns about a trial due later today in Greece involving 9 Egyptian men accused of causing one of the biggest migrant shipwrecks in the Mediterranean Sea. 6 survivors have told the BBC the Greek Coast Guard caused their boat to capsize. The alleged ringleaders of a far-right plot to overthrow the German government are due to go on trial in Frankfurt. Their links to the so-called Reichsbürger movement that rejects the post-war German state. In his final day of testimony at Donald Trump's criminal trial, his former lawyer Michael Cohen has admitted to stealing $30,000 from Mr. Trump's company. Mr. Trump denies trying to hide hush money paid to a porn star. Microsoft has unveiled what is described as the next generation of Windows PCs with built-in hardware and software tools to leverage the power of artificial intelligence. And Mexico's Environment Agency is investigating a spate of deaths among wild howler monkeys that's been linked to a severe heat wave in the south. BBC News.
Thank you, Neil, for that summary of the news. Hello, you're with Newsday from the BBC with Sana Safi and Rob Young. Coming up this half hour, you'll hear stories from Iran, from Benin and from Qatar. And George Addo will be here with your sports news as Liverpool have confirmed the Feyenoord boss Arne Slot will be their new manager. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the stories we're covering on the programme. The number for your text and your WhatsApp messages is +44 77 86 20 50 85.
We start with Iran. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has announced 5 days of public mourning following the death of President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash, appointing first Vice President Mohammad Mokhber as interim head of the executive branch. Khamenei emphasized that a new presidential election must be held within 50 days, in accordance with Iran's constitution. Earlier, I spoke with Professor Abbas Milani, the director of Iranian Studies program at Stanford University. I started by asking how big is a loss of President Ibrahim Raisi to the people of Iran?
Well, I think it depends who you ask. If you ask Mr. Khamenei, he would say it is a great loss. I don't think he would say it's a very great loss because nothing compared to his own status is very great. If you ask a lot of Iranian people, it is not much of a loss at all. There's a whole social media effort right now to criticize the regime, ridicule the regime, and criticize Mr. Raisi for his truly infamous human rights record. So depending on who you ask, you're going to get a very different answer.
And we have heard from the Iranian authorities that elections would be happening on June 28. Vice President Mohammad Mokhber has been appointed interim president. How will he proceed in your view?
Well, Mr. Mokhber, I think your audience has been a confidant of Mr. Khamenei for almost 20 years. He has handled arguably the biggest financial fund valued by Reuters estimate more than $100 billion, and this was about 10 years ago. Mr. Khamenei controls directly, doesn't answer to anyone, doesn't open the books to anyone, and Mr. Mokhber was his consigliere in that. Many people have called him literally the head of the economic mafia that controls about a third of the economy and directly reports to Mr. Khamenei. So to have him run for presidency, which is very likely, only consolidates further the power that Mr. Khamenei has, the absolute despotic powers that even the Constitution grants him, but he has even accrued more power than the Constitution gives him.
So he's likely to continue with the policies and the status quo?
I think, again, your listeners have to understand that the presidency in Iran is a fairly insignificant position. Mr. Raisi was a very insubstantial man holding a very insignificant position. The power rests, I think, predominantly with the IRGC and with Mr. Khamenei and a small coterie of clerics. That's the power on the street. But the reality in Iran is that there are two Irans. There are the Iran of the people who want more or less a democratic society, a free society, equal rights for women, and they've been fighting this regime almost incessantly. And there's a reality of the regime and its power. And I think we are heading for a confrontation between these two. And Mr. Raisi was very much keen on trying to make sure that what I think is the right side of history in this battle, which are the Iranian women, the Iranian youth, don't win. I think your audience have to know that there has been a virtuous civil war declared on Iranian women for the last few months on the streets in Iran, and literally every city. Any woman who dares defy the regime's draconian hijab laws have been treated with enormously sad, brutal violence. Many of this is on YouTube. People, if they have the stomach for it, can watch it. So it is a very dire situation in Iran, I think.
You speak of the confrontation between the two Irans. Do you think this confrontation will play out in the election? Will we see a change?
I don't think so. I think the election is going to be a non-election, the way Mr. Raisi's election was a non-election. Mr. Khamenei wanted to appoint him as the president. They eliminated every possible potential candidate that could give him a fair, even within the confines of Iran's election, fair election. And he was essentially anointed, and I think it's going to be much the same. And they just had an election in Iran, the second round of parliamentary election. In many of the places, less than 8% of eligible voters participated. So there is a remarkable apathy towards this election, towards elections in general. And I think it might even be more when the new presidential election or appointment will be held in 50 days.
That was Professor Abbas Milani, the Director of Iranian Studies Program at Stanford University, speaking to us earlier.
Well, in recent years, Iran has significantly strengthened its economic relationships with various African nations, focusing on the energy sector in particular. Trade between Iran and Africa reached about $1.2 billion last year, and the late Iranian president's administration was key in expanding these ties, positioning Africa as a strategic partner, also as an attempt to circumvent sanctions imposed by the West over Iran's nuclear program. Well, on the line now from Doha is Chinan Dikwal, the Vice Chair at the Africa Energy Council. Welcome to Newsday. Just briefly give us a bit of a snapshot of the economic ties that exist between Iran and various African nations.
Pleasure. So, thanks so much for having me. So, I mean, the long-standing relationship between Iran and Africa dates back quite a long time. A lot of them became much more tangible, sort of in the early 1990s, stretching into 2000s, even the late 2010s, you know, before all those crippling sanctions really kicked in. But there have been huge cooperation and investments and partnerships in this space. If I just take a fair few, so the National Oil Company of Iran has been incredibly active in Nigeria in the early 2000s, but also South Africa. South Africa buys, it imports a lot of its crude from Iran, but also Sudan. You know, Sudan as well. There have been, you know, renewable energy investments as well. So in the context of energy across several African countries. But yes, it has been involved in the energy sector in a very deep way. infrastructure, as an example, even from housing projects, to large construction projects. We've seen some investments in Namibia, some in Senegal, and a variety of other places, even agriculture. So it's not just energy. It has had, quite a substantial footprint on the African continent. And, even last year, you'd recall, Ibrahim Raisi went on that massive trip across Africa, 3 countries, Kenya, Uganda, and Zimbabwe, again, talking about investments and looking at oil and gas in, the new refinery in Uganda. So there have been a plethora of cooperation and partnerships across Africa.
And how much of that was, in your view, an attempt to try to circumvent those Western sanctions on the energy sector in Iran?
Oh yeah, in a very, very big way. You would totally understand the sanctions have been really crippling for the Iranian state. Much of 100%, without doubt. So it's been really crippling, and they've been looking for new allies. Now, for a long time, they haven't, they've been partnerships with Africa, but I think deeper partnerships with other states. So, apart from Ahmadinejad, in the last few years, I think 2013 actually, he went to Africa. Exactly, former president of Iran. Ibrahim Raisi would be the second person going to Africa. And to your point, it's exactly that. It is sanctions that's crippling the states, and they're looking for new allies. And it's taken him all across Africa. So Zimbabwe has been particularly open, and that Zimbabwe is also under huge sanctions. So they've been hugely open, to Iranian interests, and opened up quite in a big way. The BRICS alliance, I'm sure you've spoken about that as well. Iran has just been inducted into it. So they've been looking for avenues to bring in new capital, inject new capital in. But the question, of course, is how effective would that be? Much of the financial services, they've been locked out with because of sanctions. So how effective would that be? But to your point, and you mentioned it, $1.2 billion of trade in 2023. If you go a year before that, it was only 500 million. So there has been a massive increase, actually, in trade between Africa and Iran, over 100% increase in a very short space of time. The question is, where does that capital come from? How is it injected into Africa? I think these are the fundamental questions.
And so if Iran is benefiting from this relationship by, in some way, circumventing Western sanctions, have the African nations on the other end of the deal also benefited?
It's a very complex one, and I would answer that question from a broad lens. Measuring that sort of impact, I think, is very convoluted. Yes, have we seen some infrastructure and investments? Yes, we have. Is that really translated to the man on the street? Quite frankly, the answer is no. Much of the time what we see is new companies that are tied to the high and mighty in Africa are the ones who ultimately benefit. So to your point, we have not seen any evidence of that translating down to the common man.
Thanks very much indeed. Chinan Dickwell, Vice Chair at the Africa Energy Council, on the line from Doha.
And now, George Adoizi.
And let's begin the sport with football. 24 hours after saying goodbye to Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool have confirmed Feyenoord boss Arne Slot as the new manager. The Dutchman will start the job on 1st of June. He signed a 3-year deal. Dutch football expert Michael Stacham says Slot has the skills to succeed in the Premier League.
He has had success for Netherlands. However, I can understand why people might be thinking, well, he's only ever played or managed in the Netherlands, and that is the case. But I do hold high hopes for Slot, and I think he's very capable.
Premier League champions Manchester City are to mark their 4-in-a-row achievement with a victory parade on Sunday. They'll begin the parade at 7:30 at the National Football Museum, finish at 90 minutes later on Deansgate. City could well be double winners by then. They face Manchester United in the FA Cup final on Saturday. City defender Manuel Akanji, however, is not getting ahead of himself.
Two really difficult titles to win, and hopefully we can do it to final. Anything can happen, and we got to be ready for that. Even though they didn't have the best season, it's always tough to beat them in a game, and they will bring everything that they got in this game. So we got to be ready, and we got to show our football, and then I'm confident we will win it.
Meanwhile, one of the assistant referees for Saturday's FA Cup, Nick Hopton, has been speaking about how officials are instructed to conduct offsides. He told the BBC's Radio Derby that, contrary to popular belief, officials running the line are not told to keep their flags down as a rule.
A bit of a misconception around that is that we just keep our flags down now. That's not the case. We get judged on the actual on-field decisions. So if we miss an offside, we've missed an offside, and that's on our stats, if you like. As regards to keeping the flag down, it should just be for an obvious chance to score a goal in actual fact, but that can be debated
Southgate will this afternoon name a training squad, which will then be pared down to tournament size after England's 2 warm-up matches at the start of next month. Competition for places in the forward areas is intense, and it's possible there could be some big-name omissions, with Marcus Rashford and James Maddison's places looking vulnerable, and there may not be space for both forwards, Ollie Watkins and Ivan Toney. In midfield, where England are less well-blessed, there's a question over whether the manager will remain loyal to the former Liverpool captain Jordan Henderson. But the real headaches are in defence, where injuries have hit hard. Left-back Luke Shaw's race to be fit is a big issue. Arsenal's Ben White made himself unavailable in March, so it's possible there could be a recall for Eric Dyer after his successful loan at Bayern Munich.
Andrew Parsons, the president of the International Paralympic Committee, has told the BBC he has no safety concerns about the opening ceremony of this summer's games in Paris. Parsons says the French government has everything under control.
We don't think that a plan B will be necessary for the opening ceremony. We are very confident in the security forces of France, in the plans that they have, and the ones that they have shared with us, of course. But we are very confident that the opening ceremony of the Paralympics will be in the Champs-Élysées, Place de la Concorde, as planned.
For more sports, head to our website, bbc.com/sports. And that's your sport for now.
George, thanks very much indeed. Talk to you again in a bit. Now, during the recent floods in East Africa, it quickly became apparent just how ill-prepared most cities across the region were in the face of the heavy rains. Some of the continent's major cities are located on the coast and therefore at risk of flooding due to rising sea levels. And meanwhile, a quarter of African cities are exposed to a high risk of drought. So with the continent home to 86 of the world's 100 fastest growing cities, what is needed for them to become more resilient against climate-related disasters? For today's Africa Daily, Alan Kasuja speaks to Benin's former Minister for the Environment and Urban Planning, Luc Nodadja, who's currently a consultant with the World Bank.
When you consider that 60% of the urban area in Africa is made of informal settlements, when you consider that 90% of the urban work are provided by the informal economy, when you also consider that even the institutions that are running the cities in Africa, most of them are informal. So African cities are informal per se.
Very interesting. And I've seen a crazy number handed to me by my producer that suggests that 7 billion people by 2030 will be living in cities.
Exactly.
That's insane.
And consider the dynamic in Africa, that Africa's cities population are doubling every 2 decades. Every 20 years, the population is doubling. Urbanization is growing faster than everything in Africa. Faster than capacity to invest, capacity to have the right infrastructures.
Capacity to plan.
Capacity to plan and to manage.
And when you talk about capacity to plan, how big a problem is it?
The planning in Africa is still done nowadays by copy and pasting the Western type of organization. For instance, when you see the urban planners, they don't see informalities as the potential. Evicting those who are in informal areas is the solution they see. Because this is the Western way of addressing that.
What's the alternative? Because I don't know which informal settlements you have in Benin, but the ones that I see across Kenya, Uganda, they need to be eradicated. They need to be replanted.
When you consider that they are providing 90% of the job of the city, if you eradicate them, you do not have any city functioning anymore. Mobility in Nairobi, for instance, is largely made by informal mobility systems. So unless you discuss with the people that are in that sector about how they will transition to where you foresee with them as being sustainable, it will not work.
But let me ask you this though, when I've been watching the flooding that's been happening, especially in Nairobi, that's been pretty bad. And I just constantly keep asking myself, are these cities fit for the challenges that come, for example, with climate change? Are they resilient enough?
The risks are precisely in areas that should have never been actually built. And why this has happened? Because the state has not been there when people were settling.
Now, the state was there, but the functionaries in the state were the ones who were buying up and building in these places.
But this is again the state not managing properly what the state is in charge of doing. The issue is that 60% of the city is in that situation. Infrastructures are not in place. And because infrastructure are not in place, then vulnerability is high. What do? You bring infrastructures to them. When you evict them to bring the wealthy people in their place. African cities must walk in two legs. One is precisely to address the issue of the so-called informal settlements. And second is to properly plan 20 to 30 years ahead where the city may expand and ensure that in those expansions, it will not be to the detriment of biodiversity. It will not be to the detriment of natural infrastructure, actually, that is shielding the cities against climate change.
Interesting. Is there any African city that you think is getting it right?
You remember in Cape Town in 2018, Cape Town was just 3 months away from running out of water, the whole city. And they have to come up with a water resilience plan that will bring a sustainable way of managing water. For the whole water basin of Cape Town, they brought all the water users of the basin, including the agriculture stakeholders, to address the issue in a sustainable manner. And that's how they have managed to do that. That's the way to do it. We must first remember that every city has an ecological interland that the city depends on. So unless you manage that properly, including by ensuring that those transactions that you are having with your interland are sustainable for all aspects and all society, then you will not make it. When you consider, for instance, I like very much the Kigali Green Urbanization Master Plan. When you see what they have done in the last 2 decades, I was in Kigali in 2006 as a consultant.
Yeah, so was I. The Kigali of 2005-2006 is a distant memory.
You see, now you compare to what they have done nowadays. Let me tell you, I was just amazed when I went back to Kigali last January, and you see an area that was flooded in the past that has now been managed as a park. And thousands of people are visiting that park, and this has become one of the infrastructure of Kigali against flooding. That is what we're talking about.
Which cities are getting it completely wrong?
I'm not here to point finger to anyone.
Come on, Mr. Minister, come on, you can say it. You're in a safe space.
But just to bring forth data.
Lagos.
Exactly. Do you know that green urban space in Lagos is below 3% of the city?
What is an ideal number?
It should be around 30%.
And it's 3%.
And it's 3%.
It is 10% of the ideal number.
Exactly. And do you know Dakar? Dakar has lost 34% of its green spaces between 1998 and 2008.
But is it irredeemable? Can Lagos plant trees and redeem these green spaces?
The key word in sustainability is called transition. How do you transition from where you are to a desirable future? And that desirable future must be discussed and agreed with all stakeholders. You can't plan the cities against the citizen. If you start evicting the 60% people working, you are working against your own city.
Luke Nkanja there, the former Minister of Environment and Urban Planning in Benin, currently at the World Bank talking to Alan Kasucha, and you can hear a longer version of their conversation by downloading Africa Daily, wherever you usually get your podcasts.
Now, we want to talk about the biggest gold discovery in history and the mysterious man behind its multi-billion-dollar downfall. In 1995, Canadian mining company Re-X announced to the world it had found a significant amount of gold deep in the jungles of Indonesia. Stock prices soared as investors worldwide fought to stake their claim. But when Re-X's chief geologist mysteriously fell from a helicopter over the jungle, the story of the billion-dollar discovery began to unravel. Suzanne Wilton covered that story nearly 3 decades ago, but as no one was ever held accountable, she just couldn't let it go. She hosts a new podcast series, The $6 Billion Gold Scam, to investigate what really happened. Newsday's Victoria Unohunda started by asking her what makes the podcast so intriguing.
Well, it is a fascinating story of a Canadian mining company known as Re-X, and they had claimed to find the biggest gold discovery in the world, and that sent the stock market soaring. And I've been searching for the truth behind this story and what it really turned out to be, which was a fraud, for the past 25 years. It was a $6 billion con in the end, and never seen before or since. And it took me from the jungles of Indonesia to small town Alberta in Canada, and the deeper I dig, the more questions I unearth.
A con, a fraud you call it. Who is the person behind all of this?
Well, there are a number of different characters involved in this story, but one of the central characters to the story is Filipino geologist Michael de Guzman. He was the geologist who made the discovery and also the one who was called to answer for it. But on his way back to Buseng in the Indonesian jungle, where he was sent to answer for what happened after the fraud was uncovered, he fell from a helicopter to the jungle floor and is dead. But the question is he really? Because the podcast really uncovers new details and raises questions about whether he in fact is alive or dead.
Is he alive or is he dead, Suzanne?
Well, that is a great question. You'll have to listen to the podcast and find out.
Oh, that's a good sell on for us to listen to it, and I look forward to that. And people jumped at the chance to buy shares, to buy stock when this broke back in 1995, didn't they?
They did, and it was, the story is really about greed, gold fever, and the lengths people will go to in pursuit of getting rich.
This is when we play a clip of Warren Arwin.
There was a frenzy and a sense of greed that I have not seen since in the markets. The level of greed back then was just unbelievable. And the newspapers were jumping all over this and pumping it too. So there was money, there was greed, and there was a sense of legitimacy, and the numbers being spouted were just huge.
Suzanne, from what Warren Arwin is saying there, people were jumping at it, there was that sense of greed, but there was a problem.
There was a big problem. There was no gold.
So no gold, it didn't exist, but we hear that another mining company was coming in, and they're the ones who found that this was a hoax.
There was another company. As the stock began to accelerate in the market and the frenzy began, everyone wanted a piece of the pie. And so other companies started to vie for a piece of the company. And when they went in to do their due diligence, that's when the whole scam started to unravel. And they discovered that, in fact, the drilling samples had been faked and salted with pieces of gold from the river. So it really unraveled, but even then, investors continued to plow more money into the company, and eventually it just collapsed, all of the investor dollars.
Surely somebody would think, hang on, this is not quite right. It's not as clear cut as it is. Let me take my money out, but instead they're pouring more money in it.
Warren Irwin tried to warn people. He sniffed something out from the very beginning and suspected it was a scam, but no one would listen.
The $6 billion gold scam with Suzanne Wilton. This is Newsday from the BBC.
Hello Houston is a daily newsletter for the busy person on the go, delivered to your inbox every morning with a quick recap of the previous day and a look ahead at the current day's news. Sign up today at HoustonPublicMedia.org/Hello Houston.
Support also comes from Specs Wine, Spirits, and Finer Foods, Texas family-owned and operated since 1962, offering a large selection of wines, spirits, and beers to choose from. Details at specsonline.com. The fun starts here. It's going to be mostly cloudy tonight with a low around 77 degrees and a southeast wind around 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, Tuesday, partly sunny with a high near 90 degrees with a heat index value of 102. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy with a low around 77 degrees. Wednesday, mostly cloudy with a high near 89. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston.
Hello, you're with Newsday on the BBC World Service with Sana Safi and Rob Young.
Iran says it will hold elections on the 28th of June for a new president after the death of President Ibrahim Raisi in a helicopter crash. An investigation has been ordered into the crash, which happened in a mountainous region in northwestern Iran. We get reaction to that.
Also coming up, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has apologised for failures over an infected blood scandal that killed thousands of people in the UK. It's been described as a decades-long moral failure.
And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemns the International Criminal Court's prosecutor for seeking arrest warrants for him, alongside Hamas's leaders over alleged war crimes in the Gaza conflict. We go live to Jerusalem.
Hello, I'm Neil Nunes with the BBC News. Human rights groups have expressed concern about a trial due to start in Greece of 9 men accused of causing the biggest migrant shipwreck in the Mediterranean for a decade. It's thought more than 600 people drowned last June when an overcrowded fishing boat sank. BBC investigations have previously cast doubt on the Greek authorities' version of events. More now from Nick Beak.
We've obtained the indictment that says it was obvious their boat was unseaworthy, overcrowded, and extremely dangerous. The Greek prosecution's case directly contradicts the Greek Coast Guard's highly contentious claim from last summer that the boat was safe and so not in need of rescue. At least 6 survivors have since told the BBC the Coast Guard themselves capsized the boat in a botched effort to tow it. The Greek Coast Guard has repeatedly denied that it caused the migrant boat to sink, interfered with witnesses, or attempted a cover-up.
President Biden has staunchly defended Israel hours after the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court said he was seeking arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and his defense minister for alleged crimes against humanity in Gaza. The ICC prosecutor is also seeking warrants for 3 Hamas leaders. Mr. Biden was speaking at a Jewish heritage event at the White House.
We reject the ICC's application for arrest warrants against Israeli leaders. Whatever these warrants may imply, there is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. And it's clear Israel wants to do all it can to ensure civilian protection. But let me be clear, what's happening is not genocide.
France says it supports the court and its independence. Medical workers in Israel have told the BBC that Palestinian detainees from Gaza are routinely kept shackled to hospital beds, blindfolded, sometimes naked, and forced to wear nappies. The Israeli army said handcuffing detainees was carried out if there was a security risk. Australia and New Zealand are sending planes to New Caledonia to evacuate citizens stranded by violent unrest in the French Pacific Island territory. There's been a week of rioting sparked by electoral changes. Here's Katie Watson.
Some 300 Australians have registered for assistance since the protest began. 2 planes will be coming from Australia, and New Zealand says it will also begin a series of flights to help its citizens, starting with around 50 passengers with the most pressing needs. France has flown in more than 1,000 extra police to boost security in the French overseas territory. More officers are on their way. The French High Commission has also said it's trying to take back control of the road from the capital, Nouméa, to the airport.
World News from the BBC.